Yeah.
Yeehaw.
Did you just say yeehaw?
Yeehaw.
Very nice. Okay, it's live. It's all happening. Can you hear me properly there, Leigh-Ann Mole? Is it good?
Yes, coming through loud and clear.
Tootsing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Very, very nice.
Where are you? You're looking very tropical today.
Yes, thank you. It's the shirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's because I'm on a tropical island, don't you know?
Oh yeah, you wish.
No, no, I'm not. No, I do wish I was on tropical island, but I'm close to it. Like I'll let you have 3 guesses. If you can't figure out where I am, then you're not allowed to play anymore.
Well, there's a bit of I think a thorn bush going on outside your window.
All right, yeah.
So we're looking at the African bushveld.
Okay,
But you were in the bushveld quite recently, so
I'm not really, not technically in the bush. So your first guess, half and half.
do I get any clues as to it is South Africa, right?
Yes, you are in South Africa. Yes. Somebody says it's the Congo.
Are you in the Congo?
Congo Chris says it's the Congo. No.
Are you're in Mpumalanga?
Bavish says I'm island boy. That's a real insult. No, it's not in Mpumalanga. It's in the northwest.
Wow. Well, then I don't know. I don't know the northwest. So,
well,
in a bush in the northwest.
Freedom Fighter got it right. I'm in Zanzidi.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
The Las Vegas of South Africa. Very, very nice.
Well, then your T-shirt is very fitting.
So what happened was about like 5 weeks ago, Ben Karpinski said to me, let's do 2 nights in Sun City. But most importantly, we go on all the rides. So you remember when we did the show from here when we were all still on radio? Or, no, I think we were at Cliff Central already. But we were doing, you came here, Mabale came here, Flax came here, I think. And we all went on all the rides and we did the archery and the clay pigeon shooting. And
yes.
Yes, you remember that. And the
elephants.
Fed the elephants, the 4-wheelers, all of that shit. Remember how much fun that was? Well, I decided to relive that experience. And I drove up with Ben yesterday. We arrived here probably around lunchtime. And then we were like kids on the water slides for the whole afternoon. It was fantastic. And it started raining at about 4. So we decided, we suppose we got a break for lunch. You know, the things that you would prioritize as an adult, like, for example, you would go for lunch somewhere close to lunchtime because you'd be hungry, right? But when you're having as much fun, and I just, it was so nice because there was hardly anybody here. It's quite quiet. You still have to wear a mask in a lot of places. And Ben and I had the run of the place. Like we did the Temple of Courage like 2 or 3 times. We did those tube.
You don't have to wear a mask on that because that would be like waterboarding.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, exactly. Waterboarding. That's precisely how it would have felt. And then all those, and they've built new slides here, which I hadn't gone on before, which are awesome. There's this one where you get on and the floor basically falls out from under you. And then you just go straight down. Yeah, it's fantastic. So that was lots of fun. And just doing like childish stuff for 2 days and then heading back tomorrow. But it's nice. I mean, you got to do these things, right? You got to put yourself in places and do things that you wouldn't normally do.
That's fun. It sounded like you guys needed a mom sitting nearby in a chair with her caftan on, calling you in every now and again for sunblock and hot dogs.
Yes, exactly. And saying, just leave your shoes here and I'll look after them. But we had to get like a locker or something for that. Anyway, it was hilarious. Like it felt really fun. I must tell you though, like, you know, Ben is extremely fit at the moment. And he is hard to keep up with. Like he runs up those hills. And I thought at one point, like, there's no way I'm going to be able to keep up with this. But he's fast, he's fit, he built like a brick shithouse now. And he's got like 0 body fat. So I reckon I did well to keep up with him. I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah, well done. And also, one forgets one's body changes in their 40s.
Jesus. Well, listen, I really thought like I'm in big shit here, but I did okay, Leigh-Ann. I wasn't I didn't lag behind him. I was keeping up. And he even said at one point he was out of breath, and I was like, yes, then I don't have to feel so bad about being out of breath. But it was fun.
I don't know. I packed some boxes, and then I couldn't bend down to put my socks on the next day.
Well,
my hamstrings were so sore.
I know. I've been trying to keep fit though during lockdown. So and by the way, we'll be joined a little later on by Gord Laws, who is also, he's lost a shit ton of weight. He's been boxing, he's been skating, and we'll check in with Gordo, find out what he's up to a little bit later on. He really is just his whole life has changed. He's a phenomenon. And if anyone's asking where Ben is, when he's got his own room, but when he said he was going to, when we went to sleep last night, he said, I'm going to head out for a walk or a run first thing in the morning. So he's not around for the show. So that's where I don't know where he is, somewhere on the golf course.
Prioritizing walking and running.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll do all those rides and things again today. That's for sure. God, nice. It was fun. You forget the thrill of an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
You forget how that is the best thing. It's the best thing. Like you just get that feeling, and then you feel like you're 16 again.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
No, I love it. I went to Gold Reef City recently and did some of those rides. But I'm like, I'm literally the only person my age who does those things still.
No, but I don't care.
My friends stand and watch and film me while I go on all the upside down stuff.
Don't feel bad. I saw a couple yesterday. It was actually quite sweet. I think they were an Afrikaans couple. Like not very old. I'd say they're maybe in their 50s. Yeah. And it was just the two of them. They didn't have any kids with them or anything. And the two of them were going on all the rides. And I thought, you know what? That's got to be a fun marriage to be in. And I came to Sun City and they're doing all the water rides. I think that's nice.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Also got some other guests joining us this morning. Suhail Essa will be a guest of ours a little bit later on in the show. And, of course, we got George Meany, as is usual for a Friday. So we got lots of good stuff to look forward to. I mean, it's all happening. All right. So first things first, As, you said that you wanted to talk about the excuses that people have for work. And we actually spoke about this a little bit with Pumi yesterday because she reminded us on the show, and we went into a whole like half an hour discussion of Michelangelo and the Renaissance and everything else, because she read about Michelangelo and the arguments he had with the Pope and how much he hated his job sometimes. And I mean, he had it, he was painting the Sistine Chapel ceiling upside down, but she said if someone like Michelangelo could hate his job painting the Sistine Chapel ceiling, which I mean is a masterpiece, right? Then that means that it's okay for the rest of us to hate our jobs every now and then. And you've actually found an example from history that also shows that people throughout time have taken chances and taken time off the job.
There's an actual limestone stone in the museum, the British Museum, a tablet, which dates back to 1250 BCE. So we're talking 3,200 years ago. This Egyptian tablet, which purely on this one tablet has attendance at work and recorded absences. And it's a really good window into ancient work-life balance. So there are 40 employees listed here for each day that they missed, with all the reasons. So it's known as an ostracon. Did you say that?
No,
the tablet.
I thought it was a stele, STELE, because they usually found like the Rosetta Stone was a stele, kind of like a pillar that's inscribed.
So the days are marked like as month 4 of winter, day 24.
Oh wow! Okay.
On that date in particular, a worker named Penub, literally pen and then nub.
Yeah, that guy, so lazy.
He missed work because his mother was ill. Shame. I mean,
always some bloody excuse from Penub. Really, so sick of him.
Then
He worked for us for a while. I had to fire him. There was such bullshit every second week.
if it wasn't his mom, it was his grandmother who had died twice already.
I know, and the cat was sick, and his car broke down at fucking Penub.
But Heineffer rather,
yes,
was frequently suffering with his eye. So he had that eye problem, if you'll remember.
Well, he was stabbed in the
Seba,
eye by Seba stabbed him in the eye. That's what happened.
Right. I was just about to say that. But Seba, everything, the world goes round in funny ways, because Seba was bitten by a scorpion, so that's why he couldn't go to work one day.
Yeah, well, you hang around with the scorpions, bound to go badly eventually.
Yeah. Then many employees always had to take time off to embalm and wrap their deceased relatives.
Well, it was a big part of Egyptian life.
Exactly. You had to mummify your mummy, and that was a long process. So funerals were like a long few days. And then getting a little more strange to modern ears, brewing beer is a common excuse.
Yeah, well, thank God for that. Like that's a major thing people don't give the Egyptians credit for, but they were the first proper beer brewers.
That's right.
In the world. And without that, imagine how boring life would have been, especially for all those Dutchmen who go to Braais every Saturday. What would you do without a beer? Huh?
Exactly. And it was a very nutritious drink, a fortifying drink in Egypt. So it was a very important thing to do.
Yes.
Another thing that took up a lot of time and people had to take off work was fetching stones and helping the scribe.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would be the modern equivalent? Hang on, Leigh-Ann, fetching stones and helping the scribe. So everything was built that was meant to last out of stone. So what would our equivalent of that be? It's like,
well, it would be taking a home delivery from Builder's Warehouse.
There we go. That's right. Okay. And then helping the scribe?
Helping the scribe would be
admin, replying to emails.
Yes, absolutely.
But you'd think that would be part of work.
Yeah. No, but they had to do things separately there because of religion and helping the religious people.
The scribe. All right. Yeah.
Another big reason was because wife or daughter bleeding.
That time of the month.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's going through her own hell, right. But, you need to take off work as well.
But isn't that nice that the men in ancient Egypt, and, they get a hard, they get a pretty mean rap in ancient Egypt because no one really thinks of them as being these kind, caring, thoughtful husbands and boyfriends, but they were actually helping, and their daughters actually, so dads as well. Like, daughter's having a period, got to help. That's nice.
Well,
we don't do that.
That's what they were doing it for. They knew that they were needed on the home front to pick up some slack.
How many men these days take time off and say, just helping my wife, she's going through a bit of a rough patch this month and I thought I'd help her.
Exactly. I think it's really amicable. I mean, admirable.
Yes.
But yeah, that's basically it. That was probably, those were the most given excuses.
All right. What do you think the most
there it is in red and black ink.
What do you think the most given excuses these days are for the rest of us? Because people are always trying to come up with excuses but like really good ones.
It's changed a lot in the last 2-3 years.
Tracy even says, forget about work. I mean, the kids come up with all kinds of excuses not to go to bed at night. Borders and pure genius sometimes. One has to admire their creativity. Yeah, I mean, people, when I was a kid, I'd say, I was up really early, so I have to go to sleep really late, otherwise I won't be tired enough. Or something like that. I'd make shit up, and I could see my parents are completely unconvinced, but it never worked. I was like, go to bed. Cabello says, what I never understood was when my colleague skipped work because her pet was sick. But as I grew older, I learned to understand. Yeah, but that's also, Cabello, that's a bit of a white people thing that, we've got to take ownership of, I know loads of black people who the first time they ever encountered bullshit like that, they're like, What? Your pet is sick and now you have to take the day off. But that's the kind of
They're
thing white
like,
people do.
they're like, I
Yeah.
didn't even notice in the morning, and I came home and it was dead, and so we moved on.
Charging phones and making coffee is the modern equivalent to stones and scribes. Maybe. Helping the construction workers, they need to be guided. What if the cycles of the wife and daughter are not synced? That man could get 2 weeks a month.
Exactly.
That's about right. There we go. These days, we use the excuse I was in contact with a COVID person, and it still works in some places.
Yeah.
Right? Oh,
Yeah.
very,
Well,
very good.
like I said, they've all changed over the last few years. So we've got things like we can blame load shedding, so we can't connect,
Right.
can't charge our laptops. You
Right.
know, before it was the car tire thing. We can't use that so much anymore. The broken down
Well,
car because we were at home.
I mean, there's also the difference between those excuses you make, which are daily almost. Oh, traffic, and there was a huge pile up on the highway and all that kind of shit, because people say that on a daily basis. But the big excuses that you need for actually missing the whole day at work, those ones, I haven't I haven't had to make an excuse for ages because I'm the boss now. But in the old days, I would tell the truth, and I really didn't take a lot of time off. Do you remember when we did the show?
Yeah, I was the
I would
same.
I'd miss like 10 days a year, if even that, and that was for my one holiday.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it would be honest. It would be, I'm going away for the weekend, so I'm taking today off, whatever.
Right. But it is amazing. Like, some bosses are real assholes, and they don't give people time off, so you have to come up with some excuses. And in some businesses, they really don't. They don't care. They've got like an HR department that checks up on you. They'll check your
Yeah.
social media to find out if you actually did take the day off to go and work or to sort out your license or any of that shit. And if they see that you were on holiday, then they'll call you in. Because, of course, these days people are also stupid. So they post stuff on social media after they've made some bullshit excuse up, and then people can see they were lying, right?
Yeah, exactly that. I remember way back, my news editor um, demanded a doctor's letter
Uh-huh.
for why I wasn't at work. In the meantime, I had fallen on my face and broken
God.
my 2 front teeth, and my whole face was grazed. He still wanted a doctor's letter.
I've
I'm like,
fallen and I can't get up. But
"Do
you
you
looked
think
like that
that?"
when you came into the office. It was clear that that was what had happened.
Yeah. I'm like, "Do you think this is
Wow.
makeup?"
No. Well, Jules says, my daughter and I had gastro last week. Really? I told her there's about a 98.9% chance her office thought that she was lying. Definitely, right? Because gastro just sounds like one of those things that people come up with when they couldn't come up with another excuse. And the other problem in South Africa is the biggest day, there was a survey published not so long ago. Biggest day for taking off of work is, guess what?
Monday or Friday.
Correct. Mondays and Fridays. And I'm always suspicious if people take off Mondays and Fridays, because to me, those are the 2 days where they've probably been drinking. That's really what normally happened.
Mm.
Either wanted to extend the weekend or they were drinking. And then people are like, no, 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 no. I was very sick. I was very sick on Monday. Oh, it was terrible. Where were you Sunday night? Just at a friend's party. Okay.
The
Yeah,
worst is
sure.
when you
Believe you.
really do have something like gastro or a head cold. It sounds so weak to say it now,
No,
especially when
no.
COVID's around. It's like, but those things can really get you down, you know?
But people do come up with bullshit. So I'm half and half on this one. Some of the time I'm more sympathetic to the person who's got a real excuse or who's made up a very good and creative one. Because I'll give points to a creative excuse. You're like, if you come up with some really convoluted, complicated, straight out of a novel story, I'll be like, wow, that's phenomenal. You can have the day off. But if you are just one of those lazy people who can't ever get it right and there's always some bullshit, then I kind of lose interest. Anyway, I was talking to Ben about this yesterday because he went to that tiger sanctuary in the Free State in the Karoo. You know,
Oh, yes.
there's that tiger farm where you can drive around on open vehicles and you can see tigers in Africa. It's phenomenal. I think it was
Oh,
started by John Varty, and
yes.
Ben was telling me that whole story, and tigers are beautiful, beautiful animals, and you don't expect to see them here because they don't belong here. But in the old days, they might have been. They're not as far south as this, I think, but in parts of kind of East Africa, there may have been tigers. Not not so long ago, before the humans wiped them out. There are lots of animals that we've wiped out all over the world. I mean, it was just when was it? In an episode of Blind History we recorded on Wednesday. Ant Medera and I were talking about how there was this thing called the Order of the Genet back in Europe in like 700 or whatever it was AD. Yeah, you see, there's a tiger. That's right. Oh, I love a fat ginger cat. Oh, that's nice.
Not happy.
No, that is.
I had to pick him up because he's bashing my legs around and making a noise.
Otherwise, that's a happy cat, right? It's a fat ginger cat. Those are the best.
Yeah, he's awesome. His name's Llewellyn.
So you had to give him a name that a cat can't spell. I mean, that was so cruel. But talking about tigers, these genets were obviously wiped out in Europe, hundreds of years ago. But these tigers in the Free State, it sounds bloody amazing. I mean, Ben says they're like 260 kilograms of just, pure like muscle, and they're just monstrous, and they have these beautiful coats and these stripes, and tiger is a big animal, hey? It's just an incredible thing to see. And you were saying, and I think you've got a story about this, tigers that have been held in a train carriage for 15 years. This is just so appalling. Can you imagine being a cat that size and being stuck in a train carriage? Humans are so fucking cruel.
Well, the big thing as well is that tigers aren't even supposed to be kept in small cage enclosures or closed off areas. They really do need space to roam, which is why I'm so glad to hear about this place of Ben. But they were abandoned, and let's just get through the horrible stuff first quickly because it's painful to hear. But they were abandoned 15 years ago by a traveling circus, these Bengal tigers, and they've been living since then in a rail car in Argentina. They've finally been rescued by Four Paws International, and in the next coming weeks, they'll be put into a sanctuary in South Africa. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't the tiger sanctuary you're talking about. Yeah. So they've been fed by a local rancher and kept in this 75 square meter train car. And there are 12 of them, I reckon. Let me just see. It'll come to me.
Yeah.
So the circus owner asked the rancher to take care of them and just never came back. Okay, it was a pair, rather, and then they mated. They've had 2 cubs who are now 10 years old. They've only known life inside the rail car.
Oh, my God.
So they've had absolutely no stimulation or anything. It drives me insane. I'm so glad that they're going to be able to touch grass, have a big space. It would just be amazing.
Yeah, I just think it's so horrible that we still keep animals in captivity. I mean, the fact that there are, certain zoos are better than others. I don't like the idea of a zoo, but I don't completely hate it either. I mean, some of these animals have probably been rescued from situations like you've just described now, and rather be in a zoo where you get fed properly every day, and there's a bit of space, certainly a bit more than a train carriage. But I just don't like the idea of these things being locked behind bars in any place. It's just horrible.
I think zoos have progressed a lot. A lot of them have been shut down because they just didn't have the proper facilities. The ones that haven't have had to prove that they're doing important research, breeding programs. These animals like these lion cubs being brought up in total captivity and can't survive in the wild. But sanctuaries are the way to go,
Yeah, and I think people all over the world are getting really good at this. I mean, even in China, apparently they've now opened up these sanctuary areas for things like tigers. So it's definitely getting better. Hey, everybody, look who we've got on the show this morning. It's Gord Laws. Hello, Gordon.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Hello. I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
That's fantastic. Very good. Are you back in Joburg for a little bit?
I'm doing a little bit of a work run. I was trying to keep it on
Okay.
the down low because I was here a week and a half ago. I posted a picture of me on the aeroplane, like, oh my God, tray tables are amazing. Had like a dozen people somewhere in between. Sure, would have been good to see you. Let us know next time. And like, nice, bro. Super rad. You come to Joburg and don't even let us know. Like, super nice. And I'm like, geez, I was like working for 3 days. But I am in Joburg doing a bit of work. I'm here at a lovely Airbnb in Sunninghill with classic Norwegian design, and
very nice.
It's got all of the trappings of home. How are you guys doing?
Awesome. It's good to see you. And listen, dude, I've obviously, we follow each other on Instagram, and it's just incredible to see how you're doing boxing and skating, and you've become like this super active human being compared to the Gord we knew like 3 years ago. It's a world apart, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to do what I've done before when I lost weight in 2010 and 11 and be the weight loss guy. Training,
I didn't even want to talk about I didn't want to talk about the weight loss. I was just really impressed that you're skating at night and you're doing this boxing again. It's just really cool.
That's the thing. It's like the arse about face thing has been reversed. So I'm not trying to get active to change my weight. I'm like physically active now because I can and I enjoy it. So I was always like, if I ever got the chance, I would definitely rollerblade again. And I've always liked to box. So it's like boxing from driving a battered Isuzu Blacky to like a little golf cart. You've got to get used to handling it, but it's loads of fun. Yeah, I do enjoy mooring people.
Sandile calls you the Duke of Douglasdale. There we go. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, I've missed you guys, man. I also just wanted to thank your listenership for their reaction to the show we did about the book. Other than our sort of opening 3 days, our opening 3 or 4 days, and the 2 or 3 days after the show, we had the highest sales spikes. I think the GCS listenership must have bought at least 100 books. I just want to thank everybody that said they would support and then did so. GCS,
dude, that's really good.
You.
I told you, I think I told you on that show already, I've given all the kids that I know a copy of your book, and they all have loved it. So the feedback is 100% awesome.
Brilliant, man. Yeah, and thank you for your support through all of that. We're busy reprinting the first book, and we are preparing to print the second one in April. So exciting times. Now we just need to get it in shops. But that's
does the second print have? Does the second print still have the typo?
No. That's why we're hoping that we can sort of pivot the typo to a collector's valuable thing for the future. Like there's only 400 of them. If you've got one. The typo. We immediately corrected the typo on the Amazon version for the global market, and it's like the man in the iron mask. Like I grew to love the typo, and now I feel naked without it in the second edition.
All right. Well, we've got lots to talk to Gord about. I just want to throw in some headlines quickly so we know what's going on in the world. Of course, it is No Politics Friday, which we like. So listen to this. Apparently, they're putting up a statue. Now, this is weird. To Brian Epstein. Do you know who Brian Epstein is?
No.
Relation to.
No relation to Jeffrey Epstein. Don't panic. So Brian Epstein is the guy who was the Beatles manager, right? They used to call him the fifth Beatle. And he also managed Cilla Black and Jerry and the Pacemakers. And they're going to put up a statue to him in Liverpool. And it'll go up near his family's former record shop in Whitechapel. He, of course, discovered the Beatles back in 1961 at the Cavern Club. And Paul McCartney said he's delighted to hear about the plans for the statue. Of course, Paul McCartney and Ringo, the only two Beatles left. Epstein is dead, but he very much was a guy in the background, didn't like the attention. They decided they'd put up the statue to him. I think that's kind of cool. These people are the unsung heroes of the world of kind of fame and rock and roll and music. And you never really hear about the managers or the people who get the shit done and who handle all the admin, put the guys in the record studio, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of creative types just can't do that. And creative people are fairly good at finding one another, but sticking together and having a plan and all of that type of stuff. I mean, it's like herding cats. It's a really special job.
Managers can also really screw things up, but you know what I mean. Like you can, but in terms of acknowledging the managers, Metallica's first manager, Johnny Zazula, who discovered them and signed them up in the beginning, he recently passed away, and they they made quite a big thing of it. He hasn't been their manager since the second album, but he got them off the blocks and paid for their first things, and they've been friends with him forever. And yeah, it was quite sad. He died a couple of weeks ago. Johnny Z, rest in peace.
Well, I mean, you bring it up that a good manager can do amazing things, but a bad manager can really screw things up. I think part of the reason so few people really make it in, any of the entertainment arenas, whether it's music or, stage or movies or whatever the hell it is. Sorry about that. The reason so many of them don't get to where they need to get is because they have shitty managers. It's a much more it's a less well understood job. It's a role that very few people can occupy and hold together, and it's very tough because imagine if you have like a really talented but seriously drug addled or hugely undisciplined star in your hands. I mean, to manage that is probably one of the world's most unenviable jobs.
I won't say any names because that would be bad and everything, but I've always been very involved in the South African rock scene, and one of the bands that are, for me, one of the greatest bands that the country's ever produced, perhaps not one of the most famous, but I'll leave the clues there. They had a manager who really helped in the beginning, older guy, when you're like when you're like 20, 21 and a dude's in their like mid-late 20s, and he opened a bunch of doors and he really was great. And then we turned out over the next 7 to 10 years of drug use had gotten involved, and suddenly that all of the money from the band had been disappearing, and it like when it all came tumbling down, looking at it, no one could believe the extent to which they'd been embezzled because we just really, really trusted and loved this dude. But then like hard drugs, then that phase where you think like something's not right for a year or two, and then that like, oh shit, it's as bad as that. So it's really somebody you got to trust. It's like almost a combination of a parent, a boss, and a big brother or sister.
And a coach sometimes. And if the manager's bad and you don't pick it up instantly, they can really ruin someone's life. I mean, they even, some of the biggest names in American music that have been completely swindled out of millions and millions, and they just never get it back because the manager gets them to sign shit they don't know they're signing. They get talked into deals. It's horrendous.
That comedian, his brother, he's very famous, and it's going to drive me completely nuts. He was in the thing about the guy that you date and then you marry someone else completely afterwards, like Good Luck. His brother stole all of his money. It's going to completely kill me. I'm going to have to Google it. 1 second.
Google it quickly. All right, while that's going on, I have some bad news for you. The petrol price is going to go up again in March. Hooray. You need to know this info. Brace yourself.
Are you still driving around as much as we used to?
Dane Cook, excuse me.
Oh, Dane right. Cook. Okay, Dane Cook. Yeah.
His actual biological real-life brother took all of his money and then went to jail. And he was like, go to jail, bro.
You see?
I will testify that this is true, or if you go to jail. All of his money. I'm sure he's made a lot of it back, I'm sure. But he was huge for a short while. Dane Cook was like one of the biggest comedians. And then he had like a movie patch where he was like the number one dude. And then he kind of disappeared again. And his brother stole all of his money.
Can you imagine how that is to be ripped off by your own brother? My God, that's awful. So, okay, the petrol price is going up. This is not great news for anybody. And if you were looking for some shitty news this Friday morning, it's a beautiful day and it's a nice, there's a weekend ahead of you and all this shit. So I don't mean to pile this on top of you, but brace yourself because petrol to paraffin, everything is going up. The petrol sales and distribution company East Cape Fuels is predicting a massive increase across the board. They say it could go up by a Rand 23 a litre, diesel and paraffin by over 1 Rand 30 a litre. They say it's due to a rise in international oil prices and our Rand, which is bobbing up and down the whole time. So not great. Sorry, but that's going to happen whether you like it or not. Just another thing you have to grin and bear.
Probably a good time to invest in the running shoes sector.
Probably.
I'm not an economist, but I'm just thinking,
that's not a bad plan. But that's, of course, provided that your work and your home are not miles and miles apart, because otherwise you're not good. And you've got some.
To see.
Yeah, Gord has
I've been
got some
living
comments.
Without a car.
I want to talk to you about that. Yeah, because you've got some things to say about Uber as well that we've got to get to.
Look, I'm trying to have the opposite of a Karen rant. Like, I even posted a little thing on my Insta, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, I don't do this. But it seems to me that their UI and UX, like, this is a theory, I could be wrong, but I'm convinced this is true, and not just me being a dick. They must have spent time trying to make it as difficult as possible for a customer to get a hold of them with any sort of relevant complaint. So it's all just a collapsible Q&A, like, what happened? And then there's a list, and you're like, okay, none of these things, and you say other, and it gives you a new list. So ultimately, you're like trying to express that you were dropped off in the wrong place 20 kilometers from where you were supposed to go. They've now charged you for the extra distance, and you had to get from Fourways to Sunninghill late at night. Right. And just to communicate that is harder work than the money's worth. So either they are one of the biggest tech companies in the world in terms of like Internet of Things, and they have put no money into making like it easy to customer support, or they've put lots of money into making it very hard. So that if it's a major thing, you can with work get a hold of them. But if it's just a minor thing, you don't bother. And I think that that's an actual strategy. What kills me is that if you call it, if I call an Uber and 63 seconds later, I cancel it because I've got to run back up to my apartment and get what I forgot, I pay like $20. But if they accept the call and it says that they're 4 minutes away, and in 4 minutes, they're 6 minutes away, you cancel, you pay. You have to ask them to cancel you, but they can leave you standing for 25 minutes, cancel you, and you get nothing. So my theory is just this: if you have to pay after canceling after a certain time, if their thing says whatever amount, to any amount of time, but let's call it 5 minutes. Once they're 7.5 minutes haven't arrived, once they're half the estimation over, you should start accrediting your account with R5 a minute. Then the driver can eventually stop and go, oh shit, this is going to get expensive, or cancel you.
No, I'm not trying to stop you, because I do think a car rent is probably a good idea. But you know what? If you consider the systems we had before this, then obviously we're going to find, as we get more and more used to this and as the systems get better, we're going to find more and more reasons to complain. And it might be little things or big things. But do you remember the old days where you had to call a cab, right? And you had no idea if they were going to...
in Cape Town were my dudes.
Shit? Dude, do you remember that? I mean, like...
I still liked it.
No. That was hell. They were always the smelliest, worst thing. Are you having a back scratch there, Leigh-Ann Mole?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Indeed.
Time-honored tradition. Look, I embrace the service.
Best invention.
And I was saying I don't fight with all Uber drivers. I really am nice and always tip and that kind of. You have to really screw it up to bother me with it. But it's just that the recourse is so difficult. Like the fight that I had to have to get my money back on this one was almost not worth it. If it hadn't have been $500, if it was $200, I would have just left it. Like, because it's so hard to. And then they tell you you're wrong, and then you have to apply above that line. And then when you apply above that line, it says, we've received this. Someone will eventually respond. It's either really bad customer service, or it's like that on purpose. And I believe it's like that on purpose.
It's like when you have to communicate with Facebook. And as mentioned last year, I had a hacker issue where the hackers swindled thousands of pounds out of my clients whose pages I manage. I'm still trying to sort that issue out. They managed to pay back the clients within about 3 months, but I still can't access.
They did eventually.
Yeah, they paid them back, but I still have the hackers as part of my page, and they haven't got rid of them. And I've now given up. I've opened a new account. You know, it's so unnecessary.
By the way, Gord, Carl says it's because you're in Fourways. There's no reason to go to Fourways. It's just a fucking black hole of traffic. Okay, so there you
I'm with you, Carl, bro. I moved away. I don't hate this place, but wow, Sea Point is nicer in summer. But I mean, it's home, and you got to come home from time to time, and there's work. I'm really not trying to have a massive car and rant about Uber. I continue to use them, and like you say, Gareth, it's an amazing service. I currently don't own a car. My plan was to buy one when I got back to Cape Town, and I just haven't bothered yet because I'm very happy without one. There's maybe 1 or 2 days a month where I'm like, damn, having a car would be useful, and otherwise I would have nowhere to drive it. So you have to kind of weigh up the swings and roundabouts. My issue is not the money spent and occasionally having to wait. It's just the one-sidedness. The customer is always not only wrong but punked in this. You know,
well,
screw you.
You know what? Your timing is good, Gord. We managed to get that rant in this morning. I'm very happy.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, Gareth, and for being a person that cares how I'm feeling about these sort of things. No one else does.
Right.
Don't blame them, but thanks.
So back in 2021, Apple allowed iPhone users to choose which apps would be allowed to track their behavior across other apps. As a result, a lot of people opted out. And now Google is following their lead by introducing privacy changes to ad tracking on Android. So this is all helpful because, I know these people who say, oh, no, I don't care about privacy. Let them track whatever they want. I don't like that stuff. And I want to limit it wherever I can. And I'm not opting into them seeing where I'm, ordering an Uber or what I'm buying on Take a Lot or anything else. I don't want them tracking me. So I've opted out of that stuff. And now you can do that on Android as well. They're bringing all of these changes in the next few weeks. And they aren't going to go into place fully for a couple of years, but Google and their partners are going to implement it. When it does go into effect, it'll have a major impact on the bottom line of ad-based businesses like Meta.
So what's happened in a true life example of that? My clients rely heavily on Facebook advertising,
right.
And to explain to them why the stats this year don't look the same as year on year last year because of this iOS opt-out issue, or not issue but option. They're doing their head in. They can't actually understand it, and they're blaming it on the social media managers and the ad specialists. And now it's going to get even worse. It's making it really difficult for companies who want to spend money on advertising, but just not now seeing the results. I don't know. I think it's a mistake.
Do you worry about this
stuff? For individuals.
Do you worry about this, Gordo? Do you get concerned that people are like following you on apps? Does it bother you? Does it worry you?
There's a kind of a yes and a no to it. There's more of an underlying look. There's a certain level of invasiveness that's like not okay to be able to know things about people that they are unaware that are not private. There's certain things you should have an expectation of privacy about, but we also use these services as an opt-in. People arrive on Earth with everything that they need to survive, and they think that Earth was a mall built for them, and they being put in it to rate it. Oh, this is fucking crap. That's all right. And then a Yelp review at the end with a certain amount of stars, and someone's going to see it and be like, Earth was kind of shit. And no one, like, we have this entitlement, and it's a real thing. It's like, if you just look at the taps in your house and consider what a miracle that is, like, that's technology. This is a game where people voluntarily go to someone else's house. That's their house. You're a guest. This is not your house. The rules are X, Y, and Z. And it's like, not only must my imaginary virtual life be perfect, everyone must live their virtual life the way I do. And the people who own this must change the rules to suit me. And it's the exact same. It's the same as how we view the infrastructure we live in, the cars we drive. It's like, mate, hundreds of years of technology, work, and stuff went into making this possible. Like, enjoy it or leave it. It wasn't given to you at a restaurant. It's part of the world. So social media, how dependent we are on it. I'm on Instagram all the time, but my feed is so curated. I don't know anything about the news. I'm just much happier, and I'm not like, get off it, go farm with your hands.
Yeah, I know.
I'm online. But if you live in that land complaining about Facebook on Facebook to your friends on Facebook about how much you hate Facebook, it's like, go outside, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
I was stuck in that box for more than a decade since it launched until 2 years ago. So I can't preach. I just managed to get off the crack. And now I'm like, everyone is complaining about the thing they're complaining about that they're voluntarily doing that isn't real.
Yeah.
So if you can play internet with your Sega Mega Drive internet, it has rules.
And just remember that when Zuckerberg started Facebook, he didn't start it so everyone could connect and be friends. He started it so he could make tons of money, and that's what he's doing. So don't complain about it. If you're going to opt in, then you don't have a whole lot of rights as just a user. And if you put your stuff,
700,000 Rand for a BMW and it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, take it back, freak out, post about their assholes, and you're disappointed. If you agree to the rules of Facebook, and one of those rules is we can change the rules and you can leave at any time, I can understand complaining and saying it's not like it used to be, or I'm leaving because, but to stay and use the platform, it's like, I've been there for a long time. This is not a judgment. I'm just saying I've stopped doing it. And now I look at it and go like, guys,
no, I agree.
What are you even talking about?
So there are a lot of people who are agreeing with you about the Uber stuff, Gordo. And in the comments, Congo Chris says the issue is that the opt-in is the default. It would be more transparent if an option was available from the start. Often opt-out defaults back to opt-in after updates. Yeah, you have to listen. But I mean, this is their business model. They want to collect information about you so they can sell it to advertisers. That's how they work.
But it also goes down to like people's inability to vote with their feet. Like you want to do what you want. You want other people's services to work the way you would work them. So you can create your own service, or even though Facebook is kind of the only option and Instagram's kind of the only option, if enough people, instead of being on there calling for things to be shut down, just left, someone would open another alternative. It's because you're there and staying there. So, I mean, we have to look at it like it's now the digital landscape and wilderness, and it should be like ecologically cared for in our interest by someone else. Be nicer on there. Stop using the services that aren't good. Anyway, it sounds awfully preachy, but I'm just saying the more time I spend away from it, the more I realize what are people even upset about?
I'm going to call you Pastor Gord for this morning, because with the with the Uber and the Facebook rant. Yeah, Pastor Gord, there he is. All right, so one other quick headline for you so that you know what's going on in the world. The Tinder swindler, Leigh-Ann, we've spoken about this a million times. We're actually talking to Dr. Hanan on Monday about the Tinder swindler, because so many people have been talking about this, and we thought if you've been swindled, if you've had someone kind of lie to you, defraud you, catfish you online, tell us about it. Send us an email to contact@cliffcentral.com, and we'll go through the story with you. And maybe, Dr. Hanan can point out the things that you could look out for in case it happens to you again. Because God knows this doesn't just happen to gullible, stupid people. It happens to a lot of smart people too. So you've got to be on your guard all the time. The Tinder swindler has apparently signed with a Hollywood agent. Yes, this is bound to happen, right? Alleged con man.
People will pay to watch it. They'll pay to complain that it exists. I'm watching the show. It shouldn't be.
Right.
But I work in a technology-orientated industry, and we have to do some mandatory training. Now, I'm in the marketing and advertising side, so I don't need to know how everything works, but I need to know that it's there. And so we watch these updated training videos. They're not terribly unbearable, given how unbearable those can be. But the one was on like new phishing techniques and how to not get phished. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be like half an hour I have to watch. And I was like, dude, some of the ways these people will get your details, like if you fall for a person who's clearly a model from a magazine, whose name is misspelt, DMing you, and they've got 7 followers because they think you might have lovely penis, then, you kind of deserve it. And I've seen some homies get catfished by some stuff where it's like, bro, what were you thinking? And how sexually frustrated are you? But dude, the advanced dudes are next level. Like they'll follow you on LinkedIn and they will see who your business connections are. Then they'll contact your business connections to say they're a business connection of yours and that they'd like to have a meeting about something they've seen that you're involved with.
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing. Sorry, I'm still laughing about you look very pretty. You have lovely penis.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't put the sort of Asian inflection on it. I just said that it was like spelled poorly and not proper English about how you look like have handsome penis. And then it's like a picture of like a big head model in a bikini from the 80s from a cigarette ad. And like they've got like 11 followers, 1 post, and they think you probably have handsome penis. And then there's also like those old school things where it's like, this is the most amazing article I've ever seen and it will change your life. And then you click it in your DMs and you have to like put in your details again. Nah. That's obviously, I just reply, I'm like, hey, mate, you should change your password. Literally, if it's someone I actually know on WhatsApp, it'd be like, change your password, dude.
Well, it happens.
That stuff is obvious.
It happens.
In espionage. Like, sorry, Gareth, but in the real, like the proper pros, dude, they will figure out where your office is, who a friend of yours is there, make an appointment to see that friend, come to the office. And then there's dudes who just like, they go in the office either as a guest of a friend, or they just find a way to walk straight through security, and they go from desk to desk and take documents or photograph them. Like there's actual spying Bond level shit that people are doing in terms of phishing and in terms of getting your access. But there's also how much of a dumbass are you, bro?
Yeah, but you also have to remember, like a lot of these guys operate on a much more basic level. They know that there are people out there who are desperate for love. There are people out there who are desperate to be loved. And they play on that. And it doesn't take a huge amount of James Bond level espionage to get that right. You really just have to convince someone that they are the one for you. You're the one for them. I have seen smart people being taken this way. I promise you. And it works, dude. So anyway, this
all
Tinder
I'm saying
swindler.
is there's times when it's obvious. And then there's times when people are like artists at it.
So this guy has found a way of telling his side of the story. He's got a Hollywood agent called Gina Rodriguez, who's a big deal. She also represents Mama June, of course, Leigh-Ann, who we know was, she was the one from, what was that thing? With the whole fat family, what were they called? I can't remember.
Honey Boo Boo, what?
Honey Boo Boo, that's right. So,
I wish their surname was Little.
Was that
I don't
what
know
it was
who you're
called?
talking about.
Honey Boo Boo?
I wish there was a family called
you don't know
Little,
Honey Boo
like
Boo?
John. No, I know her. I'm saying like if there was a family like John Little, Martha Little, Little Stevie, Stewie, like if you were saying the fat family, I'm like, please let their surname be Little. Crap joke. I shouldn't have followed it through.
So
I'm rusty.
They're going to write a book about the Tinder swindler from his own point of view. He's going to star in his own reality dating show where women can, believe it or not, vie for his love. And start.
That's so annoying.
Yes. And they're going to do a podcast where they do dating do's and don'ts. So look forward to all of this. If you like the Tinder swindler, there's a whole lot more coming right at you. Fantastic.
Well, there's a phenomenon where people, I mean, as far as I know, women, I think women largely because most men are the serial killers, but people like fall madly in love with serial killers and want to and actually marry them and stuff. There's like a condition about it. I don't know what it's called, but there's a weird attraction. So like they should go next level and like either let a like serial killer attracted woman pick the serial killer, like they compete for her heart, or the serial killer has to choose between 10 women who are keen to marry them. Like, let's go next level with it. If we're going to let the Tinder swindler win a partner, then why not like crank it all the way up?
Oh my Lord.
I'm all in favor, but there are seriously hurt people, and they're going to be a whole lot more. There are already so many dodgy people online. You have to be careful. I mean, there are endless examples. If you've been taken advantage of, catfished, lied to, stolen money from, et cetera, then please let us know. Contact at cliffcentral.com. We'll get you in touch with Dr. Hanan on Monday and unpack the whole thing and what the reasons are that people fall for this stuff. Because some of them are not as obvious as you think. Some of them are, obviously. And you let us know. I mean, here's Carl. He says, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Scarlett Johansson could fish the fuck out of me. So,
Carl, dude, it's so irritating. She's in my DMs like twice a week. I was polite about it. And it's like, I honestly would pay her the money she's trying to swindle off of me just to stop messaging me about
it. Sorry, you were going to say, Gord?
I just see a couple of comments about Blacky Chan, and I need to relay the tragic she's absolutely fine and everything's good now, but man, I went through some stuff, right? So I realized moving that it would be difficult to move her, and that the area I was moving to, she's not used to traffic, and there's like
just
a number
of reasons just so that people know, because some people might not have heard the story of Blacky Chan. They might think you're talking about your like Chinese girlfriend that you brought over on a mail order, but it's actually his cat. It's his cat.
Yes. My cat, Blacky Chan, is small and very powerful. She's an interdimensional being that represents a small portal into another dimension, and she's actually the absence of cats. So if you have her in the room, there's -1 cat. You put another cat in the room, there are no cats, and if there's two, it's a complicated thing. Essentially, she's the invert mathematical value of a cat. She's cat over -1, and I needed her to be sorted out. So the hardest part of this whole move was Blacky Chan. So my awesome niece and my brother and his 2 daughters and his wife, my nieces, decide they're going to take this on. So we take her there, and they love cats, and they've got other animals, and she's happy. But as soon as she saw the other cats, she was like, and they were like, what's wrong with you, dude? And after a period of her being terrified of the other cats, they started getting aggressive. But then she like went back into the bedroom and wouldn't come out. So now it's like, okay, it hasn't been great. It's before Christmas, everything's closing. I organized her to move her to my mom, who's like, was the first, she was kind of plan A, but it was far and involved flying the cat. So I'm feeling like the worst parent ever. I've abandoned my cat. So we move her. I had to get the vaccines were just out of date, and I had to get those done and do it over Christmas. And she arrives at my mom, and she's completely taken over. Her best friend is a chicken. My mom's hippie boyfriend is fully like under her command, and she's just living her best life out there. So I also speak to my mom. I speak to my mom more than I ever have. I speak to her every day, demanding updates about. She's calling her Pookie, and I don't know how I feel about that. But at the same time, if she's happy, I suppose. So I say like, hello, mom. And then I'll ask how my cat is. My mom's got a very good sense of humor, so she finds it funny. And then whenever I get pictures, I demand to see like, where is the spoiling? How has she been placed on a higher pedestal than the other cats? And I send her an allowance. Now, sending her allowance is just a gesture because I don't want her to cost my mom anything. You know, she's helping me out. But my mom would never accept money to look after a cat. So I call it Blacky Chan's pocket money. And so now I demand evidence of like trinkets. She has to be bought, and she has to. I understand there's 3 other cats, and so they all need. It's unfair to only get, but she has to have the best one or the most. She has to get it first, or a bigger one, or in a nicer bowl. So I said this like a couple $100 and demand to see proof of the expenditure and the spoilage.
I love that.
She's in Swellendam living her best life. Her best friend is a chicken.
Oh, that's good.
My mom's boyfriend sings her songs. Nowhere near as good as mine, but she likes worship in the form of song. Some people like frustration, others like a self-flagellation.
Interpretive dance.
Blacky Chan likes hymns as her favorite form of worship.
Leigh-Ann, what is your cat's form of adoration that is most preferred?
They're very, very simple cats. They just need tuna and
human grade.
They don't
Must
even like
be human
toys.
grade.
No, it's human grade.
It must be human grade tuna. Like, no pet tuna, even human grade tuna in the affordable bulk tuna where it's like 30 of them for cheaper. It must be at least like supermarket.
Tuna. Yeah, it's that tuna. The stuff that still looks pink when you open up the tin. But they're very simple. Tuna, catnip, and just to be able to sleep with me at night. And I have to move them too soon. But they've moved
because you're moving house.
They've moved from Joburg. They've flown to Cape Town. They've lived in McGregor, flying back to Joburg. So they're quite well-traveled cats. Their passports are good, and so I'm hoping they adjust.
Well, just to wrap this up, because we've got to take a quick break, and then we'll be back just after 7. But Anna Marie says, Gord, it takes a man to open up like that about your cat. Well done.
It's not my cat. I'm her servant, and I had a life mandate to make sure she was happy. And also, as she is an interdimensional being, literally more of them could just come and swallow me into the darkness if I angered them. But somebody said, I'm trying to say, it was Ruth asked if she was going to fly, why not have her with you? The place that I am, which is exactly right, and it's the area I'm in. I'm right in Sea Point, so there's roads all around. I don't have a garden.
No. You don't want that.
And it would have just been, it would have been dangerous for her. And there was if I wasn't going to move to that area, I wouldn't have moved. So I looked at a number of different ways to try to do it. And I figured, look, I've got like 2 parts of my immediate family, my brother and his daughters, and my mom willing to take this on. I just started with my brother because he's also in Joburg and the kids, and it was just easier. But having to do that flight move over Christmas and catch up the vaccine was just all a bit stressful. But she's happy as hell now. And if I could have her with me, for any reason, if I end up in a situation to have her back, I will. But I'm really happy she's at my mom.
Of course. All right, listen, it's just after 7. We will be back in a minute.
Up next in the Auto Trader podcast.
It's very much a traditional vehicle that's electric, which I think is its biggest trump card. Aside from that, it's pretty standard Audi fare inside. You've got the virtual cockpit, you've got the digitized controls for the climate control, and then obviously the infotainment system, which is very similar to what you'll see in the likes of a Q5 and Q7 with an internal combustion engine. So it's very traditional in that regard, but from a driving experience, it's pure EV.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
There is only one place on Cliff Central for 80s movie recommendations, obscure 80s references, 80s crushes, and it's the only place on Cliff Central with the best 80s songs you forgot how much you loved. That 80s Show, Fridays, 9 a.m. on Cliff Central. People say we're stuck in the 80s, like it's a bad thing.
Yes, indeed. CliffCentral.com on a Friday morning. And Gord Laws is with us, as well as Leigh-Ann. Lots of very, very cool stuff coming up, including a guest that we haven't spoken to in a very long time. Hasn't been on the show for ages. Comedian Suhail Essa will be joining us in a short while. Also, George Meany a little bit later on. Gord and Leigh-Ann are in Johannesburg. I am in Sun City, which is fantastic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sun City is just one of those places that's a jewel and we don't take enough advantage of. You can just go there and be like, not in your real life. It's got a bit of a Vegas about it, not only in terms of a casino, but in terms of being its own little dimension where the rules are a bit different. Like the basic rules of decency and don't kill and violate people remain intact. But those peripheral societal laws that we just have in place purely to make ourselves feel safe, like, you know, don't always be daytime with complete access to all your money. You can go there and, like, I remember my pops used to go on business trips there all the time. And I was often taken with, and either with one or two of my brothers, or often we would get to bring a friend. And this was just like, our parents took us to Sun City, like friend would get to come. It was a jewel. We'd be given like 50 Rand and sent to the arcade. And that was like being given 500 bucks now when you like 10.
I know.
And
it was a huge amount of money.
It was 50 Rand each. And it was like, oh my God. And we go to the arcade and get those 50-cent tokens. Now I was like, my parents have brought us to heaven. Me and my friend, as long as we don't get any serious trouble, in which case the roof will come down and us can kind of do what we want. And we're not old enough to be like smoking boom behind the security sheds, slide. But what was actually happening was my parents' company were taking them and colleagues and clients on like all expenses paid palace missions, and the kids to just make sure we buggered off and didn't bother them. We could have room service. So it was like the ultimate in spoiling technology, but in actual fact, it was just negligent parenting. So they could get hammered and gamble and like only have to check on us once a day. But I remember that being like, one day I'm going to be rich and I'm just going to come here all the time and I'm going to value waves all the time. And I'm going to play arcade games. I don't understand why people leave. Why isn't this just the whole world?
So that's exactly the whole plan, is like today and tomorrow, I'm just going on like water slides like a kid. And I'm going to, I'm here to play. I'm here to like a kid. And it was actually Ben Popinski's idea. So
if you guys do it again, I will come with you. I'm inviting myself to the next Sun City mission, because that will be great fun, and I'll fit in the tubes and everything. That's another thing where I thought like, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to do all these things. It was more like, wow, if I ever could have the chance again, I would love to rollerblade and I'd go on water slides and, you know, fit in an airplane seat. And like, I just really enjoy this kind of shit. So I'm down for water slides. I want to go to Muizenberg, to the water slide in Muizenberg. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, like, one of the cool things is, and even though, you know, Sun City's been here a long time, and there are always those people who say, oh, well, it's not what it used to be, or it's so tacky.
You used to be 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
everything was magical then.
Right. And I look around and I still am blown away by the imagination that people like Sol Kersner and the rest of the team that started this place had to have to be able to build. Like, there was basically nothing here but like a couple of little hills and, you know, a valley. There wasn't a dam. There wasn't all this water. There weren't these 3 hotels and the vacation club and the cabanas and I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal what has been created here. You've got one of the world's most famous golf courses. You've got all of these. I mean, the Valley of the Waves is still a mindfuck. You know, if you think about the fact that...
Is it still cool? I wanted to ask. Does it still, is it in good nick? Does it still make smoke and rumble? Does it still look legit? It hasn't gone into decay and all the plastic's gone that brown beige of sunlight.
All of that, dude. I went on all of the stuff that there is in the Valley of the Waves yesterday. It was nice and quiet. There was hardly anyone here. And today I'm doing the whole quad biking thing, which should be fun.
Ooh, just be careful on quad bikes, man. Those are dangerous.
Thanks, Dad.
That was boomery of me to say. No, I'm saying, like, I've been on quad biking adventures and seen how they look. It's like that. If people ever ask, and again, it becomes political because young people are involved. It's whatever your preference is, please have fun. But why people ask, like, should I rollerblade or roller skate? I'm like, okay, well, you take like a car and a motorbike and try and corner them around the same corner, and there's your answer. But quad bikes, people think they're on a motorbike, so they try lean it, and it goes. I've seen 2 people hurt themselves badly on it. So I'm just saying, exercise.
All right. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dad. Well, Leigh-Ann knows. I mean, Leigh-Ann came. We did like a team trip here one weekend, didn't we? And you did the clay pigeon shooting and the archery and all of that stuff.
I remember those guns. My ballet is just a sliver of a thing, and I think she was propelled backwards quite quickly.
Yeah.
But I quite enjoyed the shooting, and obviously the elephant stuff is amazing. Is that helicopter dude still there? The one with the limp who says, "Don't worry, it's from a helicopter crash, but you'll be fine."
No, I don't think they do that.
You need a curmudgeonly old bastard to fly the helicopter. All they need is to just genetically reinstate the dinosaurs, and the thing is perfect. It's all that's missing.
Hey, look at this. Tracy says she watched a documentary on Beau Brummel yesterday. He was South Africa's first nudist, and he started the first nudist holiday lodge. Fascinating story. So I assume that this must be on like Netflix or on Showmax or something, right?
That's awesome.
Because he used to be quite a famous guy. Like, I think he was before any of our time, but
I remember Beau Brummel.
Oh yeah,
there were still stories about him when we were kids, and this. I mean, he was like this almost this outcast of society, but he was this dude who used to walk around with all his tackle out the whole time. And he started in this country the first ever proper like nudist colony. And I remember people used to talk about him like, you know, he was a celebrity.
Yeah, the Christians were upset.
Of course,
but they forgot that, you know, the Bible starts with 2 naked people. But anyway.
And also, but the thing about whenever you say something like that, I'm like, let's assume they're upset to begin with and are looking for something to be upset about. It's like,
correct.
You know, we are going to condemn some shit. What's going on today? Oh, there's people consensually being naked in private at like a resort. We got to put a stop to that because we don't want to do it. But I just remember, I'm trying to remember the dude's name. Like, this was like OG South Africa, like early Mnet, where they still had the logo that like I never knew it was an M. I thought it was like this weird brontosaurus. I couldn't figure it out. But like, this is the day, you know, like open time. And when Loving's music was like like that time, right? Igorli days. And they had some talk show with some dude. I don't remember who he was. I could picture him, and he was like a radio DJ. And if I'm not mistaken, he's like a roundish Jewish dude. He was really well known. He was like a 702 DJ that had like a talk show. And the little chirp where Beau was like on the show, and there's a cool, like, me and my team are going to get naked on the show. It's the first time.
It was John Burks. It was John Burks.
John Burks, that's it. John Burks. And he got naked, and he stood there, and Beau said something, and he said, like, well, I'm proud to be the first person to get my wang out on TV. And the comment from Burks was something like, and to have the smallest on TV too. And it broke my family. It broke the audience. And he took it in good stride. But it was such a well-timed chirp. Like, that's my main memory of Beau Brummel, getting chunned about his willy as he was the first dude to get it out on TV. Hilarious. And they still pixelated it. But him and his homies got naked in the audience and spoke about their thing, pixelated, sat down again, and the topic then became like, you know, climate change, not the truth, whatever.
I must tell you, I've got zero desire to, and I know it's mostly older people who do these things, like go to nudist colonies and things, but it's not something that's on my radar. It's like eating garage. It's like eating garage pies, which Ethan refers to earlier, and I got to say to you that, like, you know, nudist. We have nudist beaches in South Africa, like famously in Sandy Bay near Llandudno, right? Is one of them. Mm-hmm. I've never been to them, and I don't know that I would like to. You have, Leigh-Ann? Tell us your experience.
Yeah. So it was a little bit awkward because I was with my brother and our two
you
friends.
went to a nudist beach with your brother.
Ooh.
Okay, so
we
immediately your
decided
experience is not off to a good start, and I'm wondering if this is the nudist beach's fault. But please continue.
and so there's a long trek from the parking lot on a long path to where you can go to this kind of secluded beach, just in case anyone drives past and sees a willy. But people are already naked on the trail. So I was stuck behind a naked old man whose bollocks were hanging out from as he was climbing these like rocks and going over tree. I had that experience before we even got to the beach.
We should make scrotum money pouches that look like scrotums, and it's a little bag, and you put your stuff in it, and you clip it to your belt, and you walk around with this like sack of whatever your things are in a scrotum. I'm IP stamping this idea. What is the time? This will be the earliest known mention of that idea if anyone's thinking to get clever. We're making scrote bags. Leigh-Ann, you will be cut into this.
Oh, brilliant.
It's debatable whether we owe Gareth anything, but maybe. Anyway, so old man with giant scrotum was in front of you?
Yes, and then got to the beach. I mean, this is like on a weekday morning.
Jesus.
Which is just
all
too
going
much.
naked to the beach with your brother on a weekday morning, and there's a naked dude with nads to his knees.
And the friend that we were with, it was two friends, and they were a couple, and she was particularly attractive. And there was a man sitting by himself behind a bush, not scrotum guy, another one, and he was just sitting on the rocks with his knees up and obviously naked. Watching everything, and you could see he was just waiting for this friend of mine to get naked, but obviously we weren't going to. But he eventually
you can't. I mean, you party pooped on the naked beach. You can't go if you're not going to get naked. I mean, by all means, don't go. But if you consensually, voluntarily walk up on there, it's in poor taste to like not join in.
Yeah,
I know.
Very,
shame.
very poor form.
We were being a bit judgy, but anyway, he actually, sorted himself out behind the bush while we were there.
Okay, see that's also now the opposite end. Like right. You've got a degree of non-participation, and then that is like over-participation. I mean, that's basically like sexual violation. On a nude beach or not, it's not okay. But I just think if you're going to go and everyone's got theirs out, you should get yours out too, or don't go.
Well, listen to this. This is interesting. Congo Chris says, behind his bush, it must have been the 80s. Yeah. And Carl says, I bet his nudist beach isn't at all like it is in my fantasy. I bet it's all old and fat people. Well, we'll talk about this in a second. Hold on, Gordo. Just hold on, because we'll get to that in a second. I must quickly tell you about something, because otherwise I'm going to forget. We're doing something cool with Health Matters with Cipla this morning. You can also find out what health means to you in 2022. Now, we know that there are hundreds of trends everywhere you look. There's the latest diet, the latest exercise routine, even a new gadget that you must have to track your body and what it's up to. But sometimes it helps to take a step back and get a fresh perspective. Health Matters is back today, and on the latest episode, Ryan O'Connor is joined by John O'Mankis, who runs the popular online health and fitness community, Jeff, Jeff, as well as Sivan Gessi, who's well known to us, comedian, TV presenter, and actor. You can find Health Matters on cliffcentral.com, or you can get the podcast wherever you listen. It's brought to you by Cipla. And yes, if you noticed, Gord Laws is becoming more and more of an authority on these kinds of things, since he is now a different man. Someone said they didn't even recognize you just now on the show.
Yeah, it's been a time of change. What can I say? You should see. We're talking of saggy ball bags, though. You should see my belly.
Oh my God!
It's it's a hell of a thing. But the rest of me is thriving. Thank you. People are making little comments on there about who wants to give me a lift to the nudist beach. Look, like, I just want to say that your motherfuckers need to slide up in my DMs. I was talking to my best friend Janine, right? And Janine and I have this like completely open relationship. Like, I have complete access to the sort of reality of a really attractive, independently wealthy woman in Dubai. She's my best friend, and we talk about absolutely everything. So I was like, on Valentine's Day, I wasn't like miserable, no one loves me. It kind of came and went, and I wasn't really paying attention. But I'm like, I'm not unattractive. I'm not obese. I have a pretty good job. No mental illnesses that can't be easily treated. And never been married, no kids that I know of, no history of arrest. I'm like, I should be more marketable here. And then I got another talk from another lady who was too far away to do anything about it, about how she always digged me but never said anything. And now she's saying something that she's in another country. And I'm like, no, guys. Like, I'm not asking for a flood of potential wives in my DMs, but if any of you feel the way you feel, say something where the man can hear you, for God's sake.
There it is. That's an open invitation. All right, let's welcome someone to the show. We were talking on Monday's show about the hilarious South African spoof of Tinder Swindler. You may have seen it on TikTok. Remember, Leigh-Ann?
Oh, yes.
Yes, that brilliant video. It's gone everywhere. Everybody's seen it. So I decided it would be a good idea to find the guy who put it all together. He. By the way, this seems to be, again, the only guy I can think of is Riyad Musa, who's also a doctor, who's a brilliant comedian. Now, Suhail Essa is also a qualified medical doctor, and he also firmly believes laughter is the best medicine. He began stand-up comedy 6 years ago. He's performed across South Africa while making time to save lives in his spare time. He's also featured on a number of Comedy Central shows, as well as Kagiso Ludiga's late-night sketch show with Hugh Masekela, the Bantu Hour. He was one of the opening acts for Riyad Musa's one-man show, Doctor's Orders. Also opened for Loyiso Gola. So he's got a hell of a CV in comedy and in medicine. And it's a great pleasure to have Suhail Essa on this morning. Hey, Suhail, nice to see you, man. Suhail, can you hear us? Looks like it's frozen. Hello, Suhail. Show us you're alive.
Hey, thanks for having me, Gareth.
Oh, there he is. How's it, man? How are you?
Hey, Suhail.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, it's a bit of a delay, though. Okay, cool. Hang on. Let me just see if we can't fix this.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, this is very annoying.
Great.
No. I can't. We can't have like conversations with 2-second delays.
Comedy is all about timing.
I know we can't. That's why we're not going to do this to the guy. Just do me a favor, Simpiwe, if you can just sort it out so we can get Suhail back on, because I want to talk to him about that Tinder Swindler thing, which is hilarious. And I might even be able to play it. We'll see if we've got it on here. Anyway, try and get him back on, because I don't want the delay. So lots of comments about all these nudist things. Someone says here, this is amazing. There is a 70-plus-year-old man in Cape Town who can often be seen on Clifton Beach, fully spread-eagled, with a knitted little banana hammock holding his leathery nutsack in place. That is appalling. Jesus.
If he is covered to the extent that the law requires and therefore technically dressed, he's a G. If he's out there traumatizing people with illegal flashing of his junk, different story. But if he's managing to cover the bare minimum requirement of technically having covered up, and he's at like 70, I want to tread the line when I'm that age. I don't want to be like scarring people or committing an act of sexual violation, but I want to be as unattractive as I'm allowed to get away with.
I've experienced the opposite, where everything was clothed except for the junk.
Oh, wow.
Also, again, a beach.
That's just not in
but
the
it wasn't.
spirit.
Yeah, it wasn't a nudist beach. It was a
Full
normal
outfit,
beach.
wang flap.
Yeah, so he was sitting. We
Like
were
a
lying on the
onesie.
beach tanning, and I turned onto my tummy and faced up away from the sea, and there was a man I noticed sitting on these wooden fence, and he had his one leg up, and he was just looking out to the sea and the girls tanning, and hanging out of his pink poly shorts was everything. It was just like resting on the wooden bench.
So it had found its own way out of a side escape. He didn't have specially engineered pants that was a full outfit, but just wang out.
But there is no way that he
Christina
didn't know.
Aguilera's dirty video, but he's a dude.
Yeah, there was no way that he didn't know.
You know the pants I'm talking about. Everybody who's older than 30 knows the red pants I'm talking about in the dirty video. Like a dude in that. That's what I was visualizing.
That's why I'm smiling. So Cape Town is a beautiful place to be at the moment, says Ethan. 35 degrees today. Very nice. So it's a perfect day, Ethan, then to hang out with your wang out on a nude beach. Go for it. Go and,
in an
go
appropriate, nude-appropriate environment.
Yes. Yeah. Is that the only place in South Africa? Because, I mean, we were the whole reason we're talking about this is because I think Tracy saw a Showmax documentary on Beau Brummel, who was the first South African nudist. But are there other places in South Africa where they do this?
People are welcome to be nude at my house.
Yeah, no, I don't know of any other places. I'm quite proud of that, actually.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there are bars where you know inside. I'm sure there are jolts like that. I don't know. I'm guessing. I would imagine it's like there must be useful applications for nudity.
Well, I mean, I've obviously been to swinger parties where we're all completely naked.
But those were in your days of swinger
like
parties.
Leigh-Ann.
Oh no, she's told her. She says, Dear Linda says, on a trip to Mykonos, we went to Paradise Beach, which is quite an experience, and we're the South Africans. We were the only dressed ones, but we had the best time. Yeah, you see, like Gord says, you have to be somewhere in that Goldilocks zone between not participating at all, in which case you're really just like a voyeur and you're spoiling it for the other people, or you have to be the other end, which is unacceptable, where you like doing what that guy that Leigh-Ann saw on Sandy Bay is doing. Somewhere in between is the right area. Yeah, not too hot, not too cold.
Cheryl Lesh, who looks, based on a tiny picture, like a bit of a babe, saying all sorts of nice things, and thank you. But I wanted to address the. I'm trying to find it here. Why are we ghosting Hi Rob? I'm not. Ben
right.
is.
Okay.
Ben, Rob, and I started this like help each other thrive group, and we all thrived at different paces. Now, Ben was right off the blocks thriving. He was like getting his shit together straight away. I mean, it took me like 6 months to start actually like doing any good there. But I think Ben just got tired of Hi Rob's lack of momentum in terms of his Tony Robbins mission of life. But I just then the group kind of stopped happening, and good old Hi Rob hasn't DM'd me to say hi, so I'm not ghosting him. I just think we didn't pass Ben's self-help group university course and are therefore kicked out.
Oh, right. So you were left behind, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of caught up, but I think Ben just got over trying to like group inspire on his own, which is what he was doing. I mean, we were all pep talking each other, and I think Ben just got a little tired of Rob's tardiness to those particular classes. And I was always saying Rob looks like God. He doesn't have to get in shape, but
yeah, look, I mean, I was saying to Leigh-Ann, it's tough, kind of chasing, Ben around with you have to really work hard to keep up with him because he's fit as fuck. And I felt quite good about myself that I didn't fall too far behind on any of the rides or climbing up the bloody mountains or whatever else it is. So he's actually, I think he's gone he told me last night he's going to go for a jog first thing in the morning. So I'm not surprised. That's something I would hate to do.
Ben is a champion of a human being. I know him and I give each other a lot of stick, and I always will. I always feel a bit bad when he's not around. It's like, I absolutely love Ben. But to keep up with Ben is difficult. And if you kind of commit to a thing with Ben, he expects performance. So don't get on the group and agree we're all going to sort our shit out and be open with each other about our 3 or 4 things we'd like to fix. And then, I mean, our Rob just carried on.
Hey, Sahel.
Sahel.
I think there's still a delay.
We're not hailing him effectively.
Hi, Gareth. Hi, Gord. How are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
All
good, dude. Listen, there's this terrible delay. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I just want to ask you something because I don't want you to go and we have to get you on again, blah, 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 because it's the best week to talk about this. That thing you did, that Tinder swindler thing, is bloody fantastic. I don't know. I must have received it from 10 different people during the course of this week. It's bloody amazing. And I have to say, all of your work that you've done up to now in comedy is really, really impressive. It's hilarious. I don't know how you managed to be like old Riyadh, who's a good friend of the show as well, a serious doctor person, and at the same time, this guy who has this incredible sense of humor and can make everybody laugh. You're a marvel. You're a phenomenon.
That's an all-rounder to me, actually. That's like in my books, being someone that's really well studied and knows the human anatomy, but can still have a good laugh.
Show off, we call it in my circles. Yeah. How much of a delay do you have, dude? Are you on a space station?
Yeah, it feels like it.
I mean, in my world, it either works or doesn't work. It doesn't.
Well, I feel like.
I think we should just count to 3 and then let.
No, I can hear you guys. I can hear you guys.
Go ahead. You tell us, Sahel, because otherwise we're going to be doing this all morning and it's going to be very frustrating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, I can hear you guys. I got. Yeah, so
I think the demons are winning.
yeah, I mean, I feel like humor is the only way I can survive working in a government hospital. South Africa is a mess, and someone's got to make fun of it.
Yeah, listen, I would love to talk to you properly, but we can't do this. It's too frustrating for you and for us, and it's going to drive everybody crazy. Sahel Issa, listen, I love the guy. He's awesome. We will get him back on the show at some point, but these delays are just too much to deal with. Sahel Issa is also...
He is cuck funny. He's very funny.
Brilliant. He's brilliant. You can find him on Twitter at _SHWALE, and you can also find him on TikTok and Instagram at Suhail, SUHAYL, HAYLESSA. And he's got lots of other shows that are upcoming. He's got one in Lenasia, and they're going to be doing a show there on the 26th of February. You need to get there in Lenasia. Lens, that's right. And Sahel Issa live in Rosebank at the Dunkelde Theatre on the 11th of March, as well as in Sandton at the 20th of March. That's just coming up next month at the Sandton Theatre on Square. Make sure you don't miss out on that. I wish we could have talked to him, but it's too frustrating for him and for us, so we're just going to can it for today. I don't know why. We had this happen with a guest the other day as well. There's like these delays that creep in, and it's so stupid and irritating. Anyway,
we have to give the infrastructure of this century a bad Yelp review when we die. That'll show them.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that'll teach them, those sons of bitches.
Carl and Chris are discussing opening up a nudist. I've lost it now. Nudist gym. Congo Chris and Carl are having a little bants in here, and I'm like, that is a gym that will get old fat dudes to train. Unfortunately, when they get there, they'll only be old fat dudes training. I train naked in my house on my little home gym, and it is incredibly liberating. It is. That's why the Spartans, I believe, that and some sexual things going on, which are probably healthy and awesome. No judges. But the Spartans fought and trained naked, and it must be because it's just so liberating.
But
and you can belittle your opponent.
There's too much risk of injury. I mean, just sitting on the benches, you could have things folding under. You could have them get caught in between the weights.
Our underpants are made out of cast iron. Like, I sit on my ball all the time. And that's a thing that happens when you change weight, right? Ball sitting dynamics changes. And you slowly have to get used to it. It's not like one day you're like, I reached X kilos and now my balls are in a different position. You'll just sit like it's been safe to do for 5 years and crush one of your balls. And that will be enough to keep you in check for like a month or two. And just by the time you've got your sit natural so that you feel confident about it, you got this much less thigh again, and the ball moves, and you sit on your ball. So yeah, I mean, balls are not. I don't wear armor-plated underwear. It's just fabric. It's not bulletproof.
Yeah, I have to say, maybe I'm just boring, but I don't think I've ever trained naked. It's just not something.
I've just done it in my own home, in my bedroom gym, because I could, and it was nice. I haven't made like a thing of naked training. I'm just saying there is something to it. Like if you're ever in a private environment.
I've heard from your neighbors that you do it every morning, and it's become a problem for the whole neighborhood.
I knew they were watching me. God damn it. I'm so glad to be rid of those neighbors. Yes, I had cuck neighbors in Douglasdale, and like the terrible one, they were a couple, okay, and They were terrible, and the one that would always come and tune me was like just awful, and she'd like go on these assumptions like you're thinking about it, and I'm like, guys, I really just wasn't aware of any of this, and they had this long period of complaining about me, but anonymously to the guards. And the problem was that my front door makes a noise when you have to pull it closed. Right? I'm completely unaware of this. Like it just doesn't close. Clink. Apparently that made like a banging noise in their house, so they would anonymously complain to the guards. And I would get complaints usually when I'm leaving, because now later I find out it's because of the door. So I'm always on my way out. I get like 2 complaints when I'm driving to work. I'm like, guys, you've got the wrong guy. Who complained? I'll go talk to them. No, anonymous. I'm like, all right, this is just a mistake. And then the one day they go completely nuts and the guards come and I go talk to them and the woman has got her hand in my face. She's screaming at me. I'm like, you've been having a terrible fight with me for a year that I don't know about. And in that time, I've become a massive arsehole in your head. And now you finally get your moment to shout at me. So then right at the end of my 4 years in that place with 2 weeks left, the now single girlfriend comes down and she's like, look, hey, me and the other one have broken up and like, I'm really sorry about the way she treated you. I told her afterwards she was way out of line, but that's kind of the person she is. And we've broken up now and I really want to apologize. And I'm like, you seem so nice. And I made friends with my neighbor for 2 weeks. And then I gave her
No, but can I point something out about this? Because I reckon this is a good lesson for all of us to learn. That if you have a problem with your neighbors, the best thing to do is not to complain to the body corporate or the homeowners association or the guard or anyone else. Best thing to do is to go and see them yourself, because you could probably resolve it really, really easily if you're just polite with each other and you say, hey, listen, your door's squeaky, or you keep exercising nude on the balcony and it's upsetting the children, or whatever it is. But if you don't talk to them,
I didn't know the children could see if that balcony from there. And why are there kids climbing onto the dividing wall to look into balconies? Teach them a goddamn lesson. I'm not showing my junk to kids. Kids are spying on other homes.
It's interesting that this woman didn't approach you, because in the end, it seemed like she was quite the aggressive type who would have enjoyed a bit of confrontation. But for someone like me, if someone's door is making a noise, I'll rather move than approach her. I'll rather...
Any kind of comment at like the door, because it sticks and you have to pull it, and like any comment that was making a noise, and I would have done something about it. But what the thing was is that in this person's mind, like so many constructs in our mind, I was doing it. Then I knew I was doing it. Then I was doing it on bloody purpose. Then I'm this and I'm that and I'm that. So she had, after a year of like building up my intentions and a fictional version of me, which when you're a little bit in the public spotlight, I've learned to live with people having a real problem with an misinformed, like based on something we thought you did when you were younger that isn't actually correct. Right. Here's the rest of the hypothesis. I'm used to that shit. But she had got her moment to stick her finger in the face of someone who really needed a talking to, and it's been wrong from the beginning. So you're just a giant asshole. The person you're cucking on is like, I'm not any of those things. I don't dislike you guys. I'm totally unaware. I'm not doing it on purpose. And this conversation could have saved the day. But the whole idea of anonymous complaints. So I then 3 times in 3 consecutive, because I'm friends with the guards. Like I'm homies with everybody, all the security people. So I make a point of, I live with people, treat them like neighbors. So the guards all beg me and whatever. And I then went to them 3 days in a row and complained about those neighbors being stiff anonymously. Like, do not tell them who it was. The complaint is for stiffness. Even for the one security guard, I wrote it down because like stiff was like confusing. I was like, no, tell them they're being stiff, and the neighbors have complained on the grounds of stiffness for 3 days.
Have you?
Because they're pretty
Leigh-Ann, have you ever complained about someone anonymously?
Yes. Once I was in a restaurant and they kept on playing Kenny G over and over and over again. So I phoned from my table and asked and said to them, "Can they please change the music?" Because I won't.
Why did you not just ask?
Because I'll die. It's that's just too much confrontation, too much social anxiety. I don't want them to feel embarrassed. So yeah,
I knew you'd have a story. I didn't know it was this, but again, I know it's scary for everybody, even people who are confrontational. You don't like going up to someone else and complaining about something, but I promise you, it's the best way to sort something out with anyone. If you don't do that, it gets much worse.
And
there's
some
a place
people
where we
just
order
don't want to
food from.
Hang on, Leigh-Ann. Just finished.
There's a place we order food from in my suburb, and I had to do the collecting yesterday to take it over to family Thursday dinner. And the woman was unusually sweet, and she even walked me to my car. Sorry, I'm just eyeing out a spider that I need to kill.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, a lot of people want to like bitch and complain and be tough until you actually talk to them, not in a confrontational way. Just go like, what's actually going on? And then it's like, oh, I don't know.
And it was.
Did you kill a
Yeah,
spider? Is it now you've just taken a life and extinguished a beautiful soul on this planet, and you carry on talking like it ain't no thing? Firstly, I would be much more afraid killing a spider than you, and then I'd have to reconcile the emotional guilt.
No,
What
look,
did you do?
I'm having a problem here. I'm going to need.
Murdered a
My hands are
spider.
sweating. I just took off my shoe. It was about to go into the linen, so I needed to sort it out. But I knew that something was up, and I said to my dad when I got to his house, "What did you say to this woman on the phone earlier?" He said she got the pricing wrong, and so I told her that her employer needs, the guy who's running the till needs to be trained better, and that if he isn't, she's going to lose customers. Oh my Lord! Well, now I can never go back there. And I'm actually moving suburbs, so I'm really glad.
See, no, I mean,
you have to move out.
Reputations will follow a person around, and like in my late 20s and early 30s, so sort of 5 and longer ago, I loved a car in Rant, and now I can't stand them. But like literally twice a year, I'll be like, "Look, guys, I know I don't like a car in Rant, but like this happened, and I'm like super frustrated, and posting on social media might get me some help." But I had no problem with it in the day. If you wanted like award-winning level prose about how shit you are in the public domain, I would have been the guy to write it. Also, probably trying to hurt feelings and like, punish people, and it's all just pent up frustration.
You used to love that shit. You used to write these stinging and very mean, like,
and just about life in general, like this can fuck off, and people found it entertaining, but like I don't know if being a really entertaining dick depend on what you mean by that. Having a really entertaining dick, but being one.
Our insurance will never ever want us to insure your car again. That's for sure.
Right? They insured the shit out of my car. They love taking my money.
I'm choosing a random advertiser and somehow connecting you to that to make you embarrassed about your past complaining. That's all.
But I pick my battles now, is the point I was going to make. I don't have any problem with it, but I also feel really bad. Like I had an experience at Vida E at the airport, and like I love Vida. I shop there all the time. I think it's a fantastic brand. I just couldn't get the coffee I paid for. I had to leave. I couldn't get it, and so I took a picture and I went on, I DM'd instead of posting into everyone. Like that's also like it's passive aggressive, right? Like when you okay, so I'm pissed off with Gareth because he takes me for granted and possibly is cheating on me, but I won't tell him. We both share 4,000 followers in common. So I'll be like, you are going to lose me one day. If you don't realize what's right in front of you, keep taking advantage and you'll be all alone, and you'll learn. To every person I know, except Gareth, who it's about. But I know he'll see it, so he knows it's for him. It's like I just reply to that like, I'm sorry, what have I done? Like I didn't mean to let you down. It's like we're having a fight where no one gets to have the responsibility of having said anything. It's like the most passive aggressive shit. When people who post about that stuff, like one day those people close to me will know what they've lost.
I'm glad that you've changed your ways, because actually, look, I used to also moan on social media, but the fact is, first of all, nobody else actually cares unless it's entertaining, in which case they might laugh a little bit. But no one really cares.
That was my niche, but it still sucks to do.
No one cares about your problem, number one. Number two, the brand is like, oh God, how are we going to deal with this person? They're not like, oh, thanks so much for bringing your complaint to us. And also because you don't take it directly to them, and it is super passive aggressive, they can't really deal with it now just as a problem. Like they could have solved your problem if you'd come to them with your problem. But now, because everyone knows about it, they have to put up a show as well, right? So it has to be like this big, I'm going to show everybody what good people we are kind of thing. It's just a horrible way of doing things. I don't know that I'll do that ever again. What I will do publicly is compliment people when they've done really good things, because that's nice. Then you're giving them credit, then you're sharing it.
Like I say, once, maybe twice a year, I'm prone, and I often will delete it straight away afterwards, but it will be worded rationally. But I make a proper point of positive reviews. That's something I picked up. Like people will happily review anything that's vaguely bad, but never when it's good. So you see a service that's got like 3 reviews, they're all bad, but they've got 900,000 customers. So I make an absolute point of that. And I found now also by like reviewing things on Google and adding pictures, people really, really, really appreciate it. Now I've got like a higher Google ranking because people read my reviews because they're nice. And then I feel like I've got attention and validation. And the whole circle of me being validated.
The circle of validation.
The circle of validation. You can still be nice.
So a lot of people, I just have to say, a lot of people climbing in on Leigh-Ann murdering that spider live on the show this morning. Chris says, poor spider, how can you call yourself an animal lover while you kill spiders like that, Leigh-Ann? Sanele says, trust Leigh-Ann to make us all witnesses to a live murder on the show this morning. Michael says, you're a hypocrite. Lots of people. Sanele did defend you, though, and say, what would you rather do? Would you rather kiss it? Obviously, she had to kill it. Robin saying, what's wrong with killing spiders? People are climbing in. Leigh-Ann, do you want to defend yourself before you end up in animal hell?
Leigh-Ann already did defend herself against a potentially deadly threat. We are genetically hardwired to protect ourselves from spiders because there is always a good chance that that could kill you when there's no treatment for spider bites. So I think that inside of her own home, given that the spider came to your house, like if you'd gone outside, found a spider in its burrow.
Who appointed you her legal counsel? Speak for yourself, Leigh-Ann.
I'm friends with Leigh-Ann. I'm on the team. I'm also part of the show. And I believe what we have done is justified. She defended herself from a home invasion against an unlikely but potentially deadly threat.
Yeah. So just the same as we kill germs and kill small organisms that live in our house, we do need to have a space that's just ours. Even though spiders and lions were here first, we don't necessarily want spiders and lions in our house. So unfortunately, there's certain things that I will decide as a homeowner and as the owner of this piece of land that does stay in my house and in my bed linen, and that doesn't. And yes, I did save the spider from a future of being half killed by one of my cats, which they often do. They pat them about and leave them.
I want to warn you, Congo Chris has just said, I've alerted Peter. We are going to cancel Ass for her spider snuff
and
film.
I'm just on the show, and I'm going to get cancelled too for knowing you two. And by like, I mean, obviously, because I know you two, I know everything about what you think, and I condone and endorse all of your opinions on anything. So if either of you, because we've appeared on a podcast together, fuck up. I mean, now you're a spider murderer. Gareth is cancelable just for his existence. And Gareth's got opinions, for God's sake. I mean, he could murder. Murdering was
I'm
problems
finished.
ago. Yeah, so
this is the one that's this is the final straw that'll break the camel's back, that'll get us cancelled forever, is the live killing of spiders. Rob says you could have taken the spider outside. How cruel you are.
You have to,
I was mid-sentence. I couldn't.
Well, John said the spider didn't suffer, so he's obviously on the side of euthanasia. Rebellious Ruth says, didn't you watch Charlotte's Web? What is wrong with you people? Oh, relocate. Don't decapitate.
That's from the era of massively traumatic children's viewing, like Bambi starts with. Again, probably going to cause someone's ire by it being something to mention, but Bambi was a boy. Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought Bambi was a girl.
Hold on. Just hang on this. Viasan says he's calling Toby Maguire right now. So you're in big shit.
He should have bit it and see if it like developed the powers of watching TV and going to pubs. No, my joke. It was better in the meme.
Gord, please, will you write a Google review of the spider murder? That'll be fun. Very good.
We could actually make, because Netflix, like, they can spin anything into 6 1-hour episodes. We should actually make, like, the first episode is on, like, what happened. Then they'll talk to me for an hour, talk to Gareth for an hour. They'll get, like, experts' opinions on what Leigh-Ann's spider problems mean. And it'll be like a whole docu. And then the spider will talk to its friends, what its hopes and dreams were. It was, it was literally just.
What about all the parasites that are on your mealies that are being killed by farmers for you to eat them?
Don't deflect responsibility onto mealies and farmers and
one
parasites.
Sin and another sin. Do not cancel each other out.
Right. Don't try and incorporate other people's sins into yours here, Leigh-Ann. That's not on. All right, let's welcome.
There was a Parktown prawn. Sorry. So, is he back? Oh, we got someone else.
George Meany. Yeah, George.
Hey.
Hey, George.
How's it, everyone?
Go ahead. How you, Borge?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very good. And you?
You see, Gord is back, and he's more excited to see you than I've ever seen anyone excited to see anyone.
Sorry,
I didn't know you were going to be on, George. I would have dressed and probably shaved. I would have taken some care of myself. These guys love to sabotage me.
Well, let me give you the compliment of the flipping year, because I haven't seen you in a while and you have lost some serious weight.
You know how depressing it is to lose 130 kilos and still not be nearly as good looking as you, George. I know that was a backhanded. Anyway, thank you, man. Yeah, I'm a bit easier to kidnap these days. It's less hot.
Well, you're looking.
So
good.
what's happening, Borge? What do you got for us?
Autotrader launched the first South African open road electric vehicle car test. So I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube, but if you go to Autotrader's YouTube channel, these cars get tested in Europe and America, and the conditions are slightly different to South Africa. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the term WLTP range. Okay, so WLTP range is the range that all cars get given, and it's tested by the manufacturer, and then they tell you how far this car can drive, right? Now, WLTP range is tested on a dyno. Okay, so for instance, my Jaguar I-Pace can do, according to WLTP, 470 kilometers.
For those of us not so car savvy, I'm just going to mention that a dyno is not something from Jurassic Park, which would be much cooler. It's a machine that like jolts the engine without the car having to go. Okay, I was like, in my mind, it was awesome for a moment.
Exactly. It's not a dinosaur. It is a little machine that they put the car on. It's static, stationary. They strap the car down, and the wheels are able to turn freely. And then they test the distance that the car can travel. Now, on that particular dyno machine, there is very little to no rolling resistance. There's no, as if the car's on the tar, there's no wind resistance, there's no aerodynamic drag. There's not real world conditions. So 470 kilometers, my Jaguar I-Pace can do on the WLTP dyno standard. So what we decided to do is we decided to take 3 electric cars and test them in normal driving conditions, highway driving conditions, at an average speed on highways at 120 kilometers an hour, and then see how far these cars can go based on those tests. So look out for that series. It's on YouTube at the moment, and I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Out of the 470 kilometers the I-Pace can do, what do you think the actual range was that we got out of my car?
I'll say 400.
What the claim is 470.
Correct.
I'll say 370. No. Purely guessing, but let's take a quarter off.
Okay, so constant 120 kilometer an hour driving. We drove around Girotech, and there's lots more than this fact in the videos. We drove around Girotech at a constant 120 kilometers an hour. 2 people in the car, didn't stop, didn't use regenerative braking, none of that stuff. So it's really the minimum that this car can do. And that was 277 kilometers.
Oh, quite a lot of bullshit going on there. Then
sounds like fuckery to me.
Well, I don't know.
He had a good guess.
It's really. I mean, if you go and look up WLTP, you'll see that it is a dyno machine test, but people don't know that. So we've done real world tests. And, in normal, I've been driving this car, as you know, Gareth, since last year, about July. And you don't ever do 120 kilometers an hour constantly. That's what we test the car, to its minimum. And I usually get around 320 kilometers out of a full charge. And that is stop, start, regenerative braking, all that stuff.
That's much better than the constant 120. Obviously, that gives you much less.
Take me as representing that part of the audience that doesn't know this stuff. Like you were saying, you're going at a constant 120. You don't normally go to constant speed yet. You weren't using regenerative braking. So are you saying that you were driving it in the best conditions to get range, or you were giving it the least advantages to get
least
the range?
Least advantages.
Okay, so it can do better with other stuff, but that's like the base of its. Okay, I'm with you.
So that was the point. The point was like, what does this car do, at its worst case scenario? Like if you want to plan a trip and you can do 277 kilometers, if you bang it down the highway at 120 k's an hour and you do not stop, you will make 277 kilometers.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks to you, we now finally have the proper numbers, because otherwise we just have to take their word for it, right?
And which exact model is that, George?
This is the Jaguar I-Pace. The
It's a pretty thing.
It's very pretty, I must say so myself.
And what's your overall opinion of it? Okay, so you've tested the sort of maximum range it can do with no help, and then you've driven it with regenerative braking and presumably a bit of gentleness and stuff. So what is your verdict on the range? Disappointing or kind of what you expect?
No, I think it's good given where batteries are. I mean, like I said, I get about 320, maybe 350 kilometers in a normal cycle of driving.
Right.
So I'm pretty impressed with that. That's not bad for a 90 kilowatt hour battery, which has 84.7 usable battery capacity. I don't think it's too bad at all. I mean, remember the Tesla Model S has 100 kilowatt hour battery. So the range depends on the size of the battery, really. And we found that with the other two cars. We tested the BMW i3 and the Mini Cooper SE.
Okay.
And the same thing. I mean, the Mini Cooper SE, for as an example, has a 37.9 kilowatt hour battery, and 28.9 kilowatt hour battery, and we managed to get 147 kilometers out of that car.
Pretty good.
So not bad.
No, it's all right. That's
what
not
is
bad at
the
all.
worst kind of situation in terms of getting range? So I would imagine, but I'm a little clueless about this, that slow stop-start town driving, you only do 20 Ks around the town, but you're in traffic. And I would imagine that gets you a very low range, and that heading out on the open road would get you a longer range. But you talk about the regenerative braking and that kind of thing. So what is what is the least opportune motoring environment / life for a car like this?
For range.
If you live in this way, when do you not want one of these?
When you're doing very long trips, so the shittest conditions is constant high speed driving, and so electric vehicle has the opposite effect in terms of speed and efficiency. So the faster you drive an electric car, the less efficient it becomes. The faster you drive an internal combustion engine, the more range you get.
Yeah.
Whereas town driving in an electric car actually gets you more range because of the regenerative braking.
See, I didn't know this, and now it all makes sense. I'm thinking to myself, that's the quickest way the best way to get range out of your ordinary car is go at 120 on a flat road for ages, and it'll do 800 Ks on your tank or something ridiculous like that. Obviously not that much, but so that's a counterintuitive thing that unless an expert tells you, you just don't know.
Exactly.
What else you got for us, George?
So this is a very surprising one. I'm not sure if you've read about it, but let me let the cat out the bag, and that is the RTMC. He's calling for, which is the Road Traffic Management Corporation, is calling for a 10 kilometer an hour reduction in our speed limit, 60 down to 50 and 120 down to 110.
What's the point?
Yeah,
what for?
no,
It doesn't make a difference.
Those are only suggestions anyway. The de facto speed limit on the freeway is 140, and it's rude to drive slower than that. And the de facto arterial road speed is 100, and 80 is just the speed you can't drive below.
What's the point? Think they're going to save lives?
Exactly. So they want to reduce the number of crashes by 2030 by 50%. I'm not sure that 10 kilometers an hour does that, to be honest. It's more idiotic driving that crashes.
If people were respecting the speed limit, but still it was too fast, everyone's going the speed limit, there's too many speed related accidents, those are going to ignore the 50 as hard as they ignore the 60. There will be, because we still have a population of people above 65 that can drive, there will be a 0.8% general slowing of motorists. But for every 18-year-old that sees it as a challenge, it'll balance out and everyone will just drive at the same speed.
I mean, the biggest
problem is... It will be very cool to have built all those new signs and not a hospital.
Leigh-Ann?
The biggest problem is what George has brought up before. It's the difference in speed that is the biggest risk factor to having an accident. And if you've now got people like me who tries to avoid fines, so if it says 60, I'm going to go 60, and fast vehicles behind me who you can see it's creating a risk because they're doing 90. All it's going to do is create an even bigger
please. You know what? You lost your credibility when you got a fucking E-tag. I don't take you seriously anymore at all.
Avoid fines. This is where you got me. I'm like, you wouldn't otherwise. You don't enjoy that speed, but it's to avoid fines. Like, I get the occasional fine. I see it as like a subscription to not giving a shit. Like, I will pay
Yeah, I
a
mean, I
few
used to
thousand
budget for
rand
them.
of fines a year,
Yeah.
and I will then take that as an annual fee for not needing to drive myself and even more other people completely batshit crazy. Like, for $4,000 a year, would you like to be free as a driver and not a dick? Or would you take the free, always drive annoyingly and annoy yourself option? So if you love going slowly, that's one thing. But if you're doing it to avoid fines, wow.
That's dumb.
No, but let's be clear. Only do it in the places where I know where they're trapping or their cameras. Otherwise, I'm pretty free.
That
I don't think
makes
Leigh-Ann's
sense.
scared of speed. She's told us some stories.
definitely not.
She's from the south. She knows how to go fast if she really wants to. It's just that she also is very compliant and doesn't mind getting an e-tag. And she's one of 10 people in the whole of South Africa who bothered to get an e-tag.
I don't.
What
pay
else,
it,
George?
So the National Regulatory Body for Compulsory Specifications, the NRCS, has destroyed 80 million rands worth of illicit products that have come into the country: brake pads, headlamps, globes, foam tire cleaners, infant car seats.
Because they're Hong Kong?
Well, because they don't meet the safety standards. So there's two on this list that. Maybe three on this list that I think are the right thing, and that is infant car seats and brake pads. If you
want fake one. Like, if you get fake brake pads, that's a big problem.
Very big problem. So they called it Destruction Day, and they destroyed the stuff on the 4th of February, and they broadcast it on Facebook. So some people get a kick out of doing these burning ceremonies or whatever they are.
I was going to say, did they burn all that asbestos, and where did the smoke go?
Good point.
Right.
Well, we don't want this stuff, and we want to ceremonially. So let's literally shit it into the atmosphere. Like, literally 100% of it will just go in the sky, and that small little bit of carbon that doesn't go in the sky will just sweep into a bucket and throw away. It's like, we're going to put this into the air.
I've got a better solution. Everybody is trying to send rockets out into space. We have this big rock circling the moon that is a very good dumping ground for all our rubbish.
You mean the moon?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit expensive to get the tonnage to the moon. Like, you're looking at probably like $50 million per 10 kilos of asbestos. Like, I think they could probably just bury it or make something else.
Well,
dodgy brake pads and dodgy kids' car seats are not a thing that should be tolerated.
I'm with George. Dump shit on the moon. I don't care about the moon at all. It's a pointless, wasteful, stupid thing. It's only good for the tides, and we can dump shit on there, and it's not going to affect the tides.
Yeah, without it, we wouldn't have the access we have, and all life on Earth would be impossible.
Shut up, Gord. Stop being such a... You're being pedantic.
You have started to hate the moon, and this is the point at which I think you officially got old. You just became an old, curmudgeonly bastard.
All right.
Okay. Very, very finally, Gareth.
You'll love this, Gord.
I sent you a picture there. This giant V8 power roller skate actually drives.
Yes.
I've got a picture
of it. A roller skate. Yes, this is your dream.
I'm a rollerblader, which is infinitely like the word gay is no longer politically correct, but it's a far more effeminate sport.
Look at that. There's a roller skate that you can actually drive around.
I love that it has the little front brake tire.
Yes, and then you can see the steering wheel at the top there, as at the top of the boot.
Oh, is it like large? Okay,
there it is.
Doors. It's a person stands in it, right? It's not actually a shoe. Okay, that's different then.
I think it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, George,
would you be able to handles like a quad bike?
Would you be able to take this on the N1?
Well, you'd probably obviously have to get a license for it, but there are methods to get bespoke, things like that registered and able to drive on the road. So yes, if it gets registered, you can drive it on the road.
Probably handles very, very poorly.
Yes. You've seen these 3-wheelers and these funny cars that we did it in the electric car road test that I'm saying go and check out. We put the electric cars against a rat rod. Which is a built-up car,
right? Like a custom modification.
And it's like those are the ones that are like they deliberately shy away from looks just for sheer power. So it's like ass ugly, and it's just raw power.
Except my I-Pace kicked its ass.
Had to end on that. All right. And that is where we're going to have to end it. Thank you, everybody. Have an excellent weekend. Be good and let us know what's going on in the comments. We'll also catch up with you on Monday morning at 6 o'clock. Thank you, George. Thank you, everybody else. And we'll see you on Monday.
Thanks for having me.